Thanks for joining me, Omar.
Thank you for having me, Tamer.
Yeah.
Tamer, right?
Yes, Tamer. Yeah.
Okay.
First name is Abdurrahman, by the way.
Oh, Abdurrahman. Okay, cool.
So I have a very unique way of starting, right? I'm gonna
Sure.
tell you a bunch of words, and then you have to tell me the first word that pops up.
Okay.
Okay. So number 1, cars.
Fast.
Okay.
Yeah. Speed.
America.
Miami.
Okay. COVID.
Nightmare.
Business.
Tough.
Freedom.
The goal.
Money.
Tool.
Equality.
Non-existent.
Equity.
Expensive.
Okay, love it. Okay, that's great. That tells me a lot. I use that to figure out where to go from there.
Yeah.
All right, so I always start with this question as well: is how does your day look like nowadays?
Okay, so obviously, being in entrepreneurship, there's something called routine that you are not going to be able to function without. My routine really consists of waking up early, around 5 a.m. I obviously do my my morning prayers,
Right.
and I start off my day with the gym. I train, usually because I want to get out of the way as soon as I possibly can, because my days are very unpredictable in terms of where I have to be at what time. So I get everything out of the way early on the day. By 9 a.m. I'm sitting at my desk on my laptop, emails mostly, and just getting ready for the day for the most part.
Right, and then the rest is unpredictable. Everything just
Very
goes.
unpredictable. Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, it used to be, this and that, but then between me and myself, I felt like I was living a corporate lifestyle, but I was being an entrepreneur. So like I really enforced a schedule. I have to be there at this time. I have to meet this person here, this person there, on this day. But then obviously it got to the point where I started freestyling, and I started really taking it to where everything I have for the next day, I'm booking the day prior.
Right.
And then if for example, on Wednesday, I won't worry about Wednesday till Tuesday comes around. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because it keeps me sane this way for the most part.
Understandable. And like nowadays, I'm sure you have a team that manages a bunch of things, right?
So,
Then all of this daily tasks or mundane tasks are already automated. So what is left for you to manage?
look, the team that I have in place are responsible for day-to-day business requirements, day-to-day business activities, but I'm you could say the driver of the business. So you have to look at it where my business goes completely relies on where I'm taking it. And by that I mean, let's say, like previously mentioned, now where we stand as a company, we're forming a partnership with the government, and that took 14 months to complete.
Right.
So obviously my team was there to help me with filling in contracts, filling in paperwork, but then it was up to me to meet these people, push with them. Obviously, when you're dealing with the government, you have to be patient. You have to go at their pace. So look at it in a way where your team holds it down for you, but they're not going to push your business forward. You're going to be pushing it forward. They're going to basically
Maintain it.
not only maintain it, but their job and their role is to adjust to all these changes as we go. And obviously, look, I never hire people based on resume. I don't hire based on CV, based on experience. I have people who worked with me as well with no degrees. So I believe in obviously talent. I know talent when I see it, and obviously intuition. Intuition is something a lot of people in business don't pay attention to. I think it's a superpower. It's a sixth sense, and the fact that intuition can really, it's a compass, that's built inside you. That's meant to tell you whether, and it's not, you're not always 100% right. So obviously with time you practice, but it gives you an idea on whether or not this is a person that can fit in your space or not, basically.
Yeah. Okay. And now going back in time, before all of this started, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about your childhood from the beginning.
Okay,
Right.
so I was raised in a family household, me and 3 siblings. So I have 3 sisters, I don't have brothers.
That's a lot of responsibility. I have one sister and I already feel the
Yeah,
responsibility.
exactly. 3 sisters, no brothers. Obviously, Growing up in Dubai, like I just mentioned earlier, I went to obviously Shweifat school, and being, in a Middle Eastern household, you're
Right.
always, there's such high expectations from every child to where it becomes difficult for you to look at what you want to do. It's mostly what's going to make them proud.
Yeah.
That's 99% of the Middle Eastern, I would say, culture. But from a very, very young age, I knew I wasn't book smart, so I wasn't necessarily. I was failing every subject that I wasn't interested in. Yeah, no, really. I was getting very, very poor
Yeah.
grades in subjects that had no interest in, but
Yeah.
then I was getting 100 in all the other subjects that I loved, for
Okay.
example. So like in English, it would be split into spelling, grammar, and vocab. I would get 100 spelling, 100 vocab, and then I'd fail in grammar.
Yeah.
Just because, and that even in math, I'd do good in algebra, but I'd fail in geometry. It's just, I never felt
Yeah.
motivated towards, studying something that I wasn't, interested in. But then fast forward, obviously, I think the whole light bulb moment for me was when I turned 15 years old. When I turned 15 years old, me and my father had an agreement,
Yeah.
and he's like, listen, if you want a new PlayStation, if you want to travel with your friends, whatever it is, you have to get good grades. And obviously that wasn't working out because I wasn't getting any sort of good grades. So I got tired of it because there could come times where, but then it's funny because I owe it to him because he embedded this entrepreneurial mindset, and it was, I think it was done in a very strategic way by him, but it was misunderstood by me because obviously as kids, we grow up, we have these feelings and emotions when we're still children, and we take everything personal. So I took everything personal. I didn't get the PlayStation on time. I didn't get anything on time. I had to work for it. I had to earn it. I had to get it on my own, purely because I wasn't getting grades. So the turning point was, I think, 10th grade, and it was the BlackBerry days when we used to have and it was funny because I was gifted a puppy, a dog, and I've always wanted a puppy ever since I was a kid, but my parents knew I wasn't going to be responsible
enough to
raising the dog, but I got one as a gift. And the funny thing is, I kept it for a week, and I just realized it was too much work, man. I had to clean up after the puppies. They're a handful. Let's put it this way. So I took him for a walk one day.
You left?
I got stopped by someone.
Okay.
And it was a beautiful German Shepherd at the time. It was a puppy 3 months old. And he offered to buy the puppy because he liked how it looked. Not knowing what these puppies go for, not knowing anything. So I just threw a number out there, and it was a ridiculous number. It was around 7,000, I think. And then we negotiated, and then he ended up taking the puppy, and I went back home without a dog. So my father comes back home that day, and he's like, didn't we have a dog? Where did that dog disappear? And then I'm like, yeah, I sold it. So that's when my dad was like, yo, this guy, he thought I lost my mind, He's like, what are you doing? And I told him, listen, I have an idea. I was 10th grade.
Buy and sell dogs.
I was like, I was going to look deeper into it, do some research, and try and start a side business out of it, obviously. And that's what I did. And from 10th grade up until I graduated high school, believe it or not, as soon as I picked up this side business, my grades went up, my school improved. 11th, I went from barely passing. When I tell you barely passing, I was getting 55, 58 average, 10th grade all the way up to like 75 in 11th grade. And then 80 is when I graduated. So my father couldn't believe it. He was like, what? He's like, it's either you're cheating or something's wrong, And I was like, no, it's just I found my routine, if that makes sense to you. So like I found something that got me up in the morning. And I was doing something with my life, you know what I mean? And I made around $200,000 by the time I graduated high school. So I was 17. And when I tell you I was going to school and closing deals every day in class, you know what I mean? Still maintain my school, still maintain my business. But that really, I was 15, 16. So I got scammed. I got given a litter of puppies who were sick. I had to drop them off to the vet because they couldn't be treated. So I've dealt with everything ugly about business from a very young age.
Yeah.
And needless to say, I was dealing with farms at the time, so across all 7 Emirates, and I was one of the biggest connections in
Right.
Dubai. So I built a reputation and a clientele, and I kept going with the business even when I went to Toronto. So I have a Canadian citizenship. I went to Toronto, studied industrial engineering at the University
that's
of
uni,
Toronto.
right? So you went to uni, okay.
Yes, of course. I graduated from high school, and then I went to university. I was enrolled into industrial engineering. It was, I don't even know what I enrolled in, honestly. I just got accepted into industrial engineering, not knowing what industrial was. So I was like, you know what? It's engineering, right? So it should make the parents proud. Went in first year. Obviously, I was still hooked with that business I had, so I kept doing it for another year. I was shipping puppies from Canada, Huskies in specific, because they were rare.
Yeah.
The high quality ones from Canada to clients I had in Dubai.
What was the profit margin on that?
Oh, it was big. It was, you're talking $10,000 a puppy at the time. But I was buying champion bloodlines at this time.
And
so
then when you would buy, so you would buy them for like...
I'd buy them for like 5, 4, 4.5, and then obviously I put my markup, and then there's shipping. There's
so you make at least like a solid 80% extra.
no, look, I'd make 50%. I'd make 50%, and sometimes I took losses. I took big losses, and that's just purely to maintain customer satisfaction, so on and so forth. So I never stopped doing business. So I ended up, I got tired of it because it was a lot of headache in terms of because when I was shipping, I mean, there was this one time they called me, the airport called me like 15 or 20 minutes before the flight took off. And they're like, yeah, the puppy doesn't fit inside the crate. He needs an extra centimeter on the height, extra centimeter on the width so he can move around. And I was like, wow, I had to basically miss the flight. So I lost around $2,000 on airfare. And you deal with these things. It's normal. It's business. So moved on. Close the chapter. My first year in university was, I mean, I did not, I remember attending maybe 20 classes from like 200 throughout the whole year. Yeah. I had friends in other universities, not in my university. I think one of the, I don't want to say I regret it, but it's pros and cons. I didn't go to dorms. So I had my own place, obviously. And again, I pretty much did what I need to do to sustain myself in Toronto on my own as well. You know, obviously, you know, the support of the parents was always there, but I was at a point where I felt like, you know, if I could do it alone, let me do it alone, you know?
Right.
And obviously, first year was horrible. I almost got kicked out of university because in engineering, I found out that you have to maintain a 65 GPA, 65 out of 100. And I remember getting 58, 57, 2 consecutive semesters, and they put me on probation. So they're like, listen, you get one more strike, and you get kicked out of university. So I finished the first year, barely finished the first year, and I came back. I was like, do I really want to do engineering? I don't need to do engineering. I was like, my head was like in a place where, you know, I'm already doing good with business. Do I really need to suffer? But then went back in first Christmas break, and then summer break. Both times I was trying to convince my father. I was like, listen, I don't think engineering is for me. I think I want to do business. He was like, look, if you want to do business, just don't go back. You know, continue what you're doing. You don't need a degree for business. And that's exactly what he told me. And he is like, think about it. Have you given it your all? Have you given engineering your all? If yes, do whatever you want. If not, I suggest you give it another shot. And I gave it a good thought, and I was like, you know what? Let me just, you know, give it one more year. Now, the problem with engineering is the first year you're supposed to do every subject, so chemistry, physics, not your stream. So industrial, not necessarily. It's all software. It has nothing to do with chemistry, but it's like a mandatory class you have to take first year for everyone. And when I went to second year, it started becoming more and more familiar into what I want to do. And that's when I picked up my second side hustle, which was, so my dream was to ride motorcycles, so it's sport bikes. And obviously, being around my parents, it was going to be a big no.
Impossible.
So I took Toronto as my first kind of ticket. No, this is the time for me to buy a motorcycle.
Okay.
So funny enough, I bought a motorcycle second year uni in winter, and I bought it. I was like, wow, why is it this cheap? I mean, there's like $4,000 for a bike that's okay, 2010, 2011, but still $4,000 is very, very cheap. Bought the bike. I bought a bike before getting a license of knowing how to ride a bike. You know what I mean? So,
Middle Eastern style.
no, in terms of risk, I've done some crazy stuff in my life. So I think taking risks, obviously has a cost, but
Right.
it's really where you see your true potential.
Yeah.
So keep things short. I started this, and when I went to shop for another bike in the summer, the prices were double. I was like, what is going on? Like, it's the same bike, same specs. So the bike I bought in winter, I sold in the summer for double. I was like, wow, okay, here's a good business idea. Then I studied the market, and I found out that 6 months in Canada, it's winter, snow, no one's riding. So everyone's getting rid of their bikes for a low price. And in summer, the hype is up, everyone's buying. And that's where I clicked. So then for the next 4 years, I bought and sold. I would buy bikes. Some were beat up. I'd order like a new fairing kit from Alibaba, and I'd fix it myself in my own garage. I started with one bike. I ended up having 20 at some point.
Wow.
Within the process, 2 of my bikes got stolen. I crashed 3 of my bikes. So like, it's inevitable that in every business you go through, things happen.
Yes.
Yeah, things happen. I got scammed. I got robbed. You name it. So the only thing that changed is how I dealt with it. So what you have to understand in every business is you can't involve emotions. The minute you start involving emotions, that's when you open doors for other people to take advantage of you, because they know you have trigger points. And that's when you will start making impulsive decisions that are not supposed to be made, mainly because of emotion.
Right.
So completed my undergrad in industrial engineering. In like your third year, you pick your stream. So I picked front-end software development. So UI, UX, wireframing, prototyping. So websites, apps, I used to do the design, the wireframes, the skeleton, just like how civil engineers draw the plot before it goes into construction. And I knew coding, so I took C++, Python, SQL, MATLAB, Minitab, all these PHP, all these, but I hated coding. I absolutely hated it. And I believe coding is something where you either get it or you don't. And I was stuck in the middle where I knew what I was doing, but I hated what I was doing. So I immediately knew that my passion would be more towards the front end design or aspect of things. Graduated, and then I did my master's in entrepreneurship and leadership. And that's where really the whole spark came for becoming an entrepreneur, is because the difference between this entrepreneurship class and undergrad is simple. In entrepreneurship, we had one project with 3 other engineers. We had to deliver an actual app for a real client that was going to use the app on like across all Canada for universities. So we had to build an app. So every
Did you
lab.
get paid for it or not?
No. So a whole year of working on it. I was responsible for the design.
Right.
So I designed the whole around 85 screens.
Right.
And this platform was supposed to eliminate teacher assistants in bio and chem labs. So when we have labs, and every engineer has labs. So when you go to a lab, there's a TA, teacher assistant, who is usually a PhD student or a master's student that comes, gets paid $40 an hour for attending or just spectating.
Yeah.
So they're like, we want to cut costs. We want to create an application using beacons. Beacons are like small devices that you place across different areas in the room.
Yeah.
And whenever you set the kind of distance, so if I come close to a beacon, it would shoot me a message on the platform, saying, please, this area is not, you are not allowed to be in this area. Please proceed back to your workstation. So beacons spread around every lab that would instruct the student every time he approached it. So if he approached the device he's supposed to do an experiment with, it would give him the instructions on what to do. The safety gloves, safety goggles. And we used QR codes embedded on every device, how to use, how not to use. So it took us a whole year, and obviously that was the
But
moment.
in essence, this is quite like in simple terms, it's like quite a simple, not like a simple project in sense, like it's a bunch of sensors that send messages.
Correct, but it's an
Correct?
actual app you need to download.
Yeah, so it's a bunch of sensors connected to the app, and then the app shoots a
Correct.
message whenever you're close to the
Correct,
sensor. Okay.
correct. And after the full year, honestly, it was tough, man. It was tough because I remember we stayed for hours and hours, 4 a.m., 5 a.m. sometimes, just debugging and coding and all that stuff. And once we delivered the project and it officially got implemented in Waterloo University, they implemented it in Queen's University, two others that were not in Toronto in specific. But I kind of like knew, I was like, you know what? It was impossible for me to have done all of this in the past 6-7 years.
Yeah.
For me to go back to Dubai now after graduating and work a desk job.
Yeah. But do you think they took advantage of you by giving you that project and not getting paid for it?
Look,
because I feel like that's the system. They teach you and then they use you and then they let you go.
I mean, look, there's at the end of the day, we're pawns, right?
Yeah.
So they look at us as number signs, like dollar signs. You know, like this is how even for PhDs it's even worse because the amount of work required from a PhD student you wouldn't even believe. Like, and what they get in return. Look, it's a passion. It comes down to passion. It's either you are willing to do it, and my drive was, I want to learn how to design an app. So I took the opportunity. Listen, I was first 6 months. I was, on a certain skill set. The remaining 6 months I was on a whole different level.
Yeah,
it's because I invested all the time and energy into learning, using Photoshop softwares, embedding screens with one another, designing them. So once they pass the wireframing, they go into basically the UI, user interface, user experience phase, where you start putting makeup on the actual screens, the branding, the logo, the design, where the back button is, where the submit button is. Every button counts. You have to, it's basically what they call it's engineering psychology.
Right.
Engineering psychology is basically putting yourself in the shoes of the user.
Yeah.
That's how I live my life. I put myself on in a position where I'm looking at what customers want to see.
And you're optimizing their user interface.
Exactly. Finished my master's class, and it was time to come back to Dubai. And
at that point, you're 20.
I was 22, 23 at the time.
At that point, okay.
Yeah, 22 or 23 at the time. So I already had, quite some cash saved up from everything that I've worked on. And I came back to Dubai, and obviously my father was like, yeah, so, I have a connection with GE, I have a connection with P&G, why don't you look at their leadership programs? And I was like, no. I was like, I love you.
Enough studying.
I everything you've encouraged me and pushed me towards, I've done and I've accomplished. And I've obviously have him to thank for. But from here onwards,
yeah,
I'm making my own decisions, and I want to pursue entrepreneurship, and this is what I want to do. So backtrack, when I was in Canada, I was using an app called Turo. A lot of people know Turo. Turo is the first, they launched in 2011. They're the first startup that enforced private vehicle lending. So you can put your car for rent. Anyone can put their car for rent. They started in 2011, and today they're worth over 2 billion. And that was kind of the inspiration for me, where it's like, man, this would work in the MENA region. So the idea...
What reminded you of that? Like,
what reminded me of what exactly?
Of the app. Like,
it was... Actually, I was using it while I was in Toronto, and by the time it's funny you asked that. It was on an evening. I was sitting with my father. We just finished dinner, watching TV, and I think it was 6 months into being back in Dubai,
right?
And I was already itching. I was like, man, I need to put a plan in place. I need to. Obviously, I had the prototype built, so I already built the prototype of what I wanted my app to look like,
right?
But it was very minimalistic, so took that. And when my father visited, I remember renting a car, like it was a Porsche Cayenne, I think,
Mm-hmm.
for like $150 a day. You know, like that's nothing. You know, but it was an older model, obviously. And I picked up my father from the airport, and you know, at that time he was like, when he saw, he found it to be a very cool concept.
Yeah.
So he was sitting and he was like, why don't you recreate this app in the UAE? And I haven't told him anything about the app that I've designed and all that. I was like, I took it as a sign. And I'll never forget that day. I took the idea, I went upstairs to my room and started writing all these notes down. And that was it. It was 2017, November, I think.
Right.
Yeah, November of 2017, where I decided that's it. I'm going to embark on this journey. So, long story short, it took me 3 years. So 2017 I started.
All on your own.
Alone, completely alone.
Right.
You know, I've obviously had my father to mentor me, and that's it. I really wanted this to be alone. Obviously, a lot of the things that my father told me to do and I didn't do, I ended up, but I'm happy because I ended up learning the lesson that I was supposed to learn. So, long story short, November 2017 is when I was like set in stone. I'm gonna do this. So I started building the backend for whatever I've built. So I've built a prototype, so an app that shows you very basic of what the app's gonna look like.
Yeah.
So I started looking for full stack developers, and I understood coding. So I knew what language I wanted to, what technology stack I was gonna use, what kind of developers I wanted, how I was gonna start. I put all the plan in place. Now the only missing point I had at the time was the license, the activity. So if I go to DED or the RTA and I tell them, listen, I want to start a business that's around a marketplace, but a marketplace for rentals, vehicle rentals, not marketplace for buy sell like Tubism. First thing they told me was it doesn't exist, and for you to have it issued, you need to speak to this person, who then has to speak to this person, who then has to get an approval from that person. So it was, honestly, man, it was moving a mountain at this point. And then word of mouth here and there, I managed to find a partner who was gonna assist me in getting the license. And unfortunately, that didn't work out. And obviously, at that point, I'm talking a full 12 months of building the project and having a partner who was responsible for getting the license. That didn't work out.
Yeah.
And that was my first slap in the face, because I was very optimistic, very driven, and 12 months into the project, with, you could say, $100,000 invested already into the business, turned to the tech infrastructure. I took an office. I took it seriously. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. So you're talking 2018 February is when I officially opened the office, started working on this project and carrying on. By the end of 2018, I was told by my partner that there's no license and that it was rejected. So to me, it's like pitch black now. Right. I was like, what do I do? You know, I've spent this much money. And I was like, you know what? I want to take it up into my own house. I spent all 2019, my friend, all 2019 in the RTA. Every week. They absolutely were baffled at how they thought I worked in RTA at some point. I swear to God, someone thought I worked there. I was going in 3-4 times a week, trying to speak to someone to explain to them that, hey, listen, this is my license. This is the one I need. It's very simple. Like, no, it's national security. There's certain things we need to meet. There's certain regulations. And then I kept pushing, man. 2019 was a year where all I did was work, build the platform, burn cash into building the platform, and trying to get the license. Eventually, 2020 February, so we're talking 12, 13 months into going to the RTA, and it was because of a lady who worked at the RTA who felt sorry for me. She's like, yeah, I see you here every day. What do you need? And I was like, can I please have a minute of your time? And it happened exactly that way. And I was like, this is what I need to do. I'm trying to build this. This is going to benefit the UAE on a large scale. I just wanted to understand that I understood that you guys have an issue with private vehicle lending, like individuals listing because of insurance. I understand that. but my model is going to be focused mostly on businesses, but delivering the peer-to-peer experience on the app. So customers don't care if you are a business owner or an individual.
Yeah.
They care about the fact that they can talk to you, book from you, see your car, just like Airbnb. So URENT, which is my startup, is dubbed as the Airbnb of mobility. So it's an Airbnb model, exactly like Airbnb.
Yeah.
Except we don't do real estate, we do mobility. So we do cars, yachts, jet skis, ATVs, chauffeur service, limousine service. We just added helicopters, then we're going to add scooters and bicycles. It's a marketplace. So I don't own any of the assets. I built the marketplace to where businesses have an account, they list their fleet, and then customers can engage with them, just like how you do an Airbnb, and then book from each other, build a relationship, so on and so forth. 2020 comes around, I get a call from the RTA. It was February 2020. And they're like, you just got the pre-approval for the license. And they created it. So they created a new license. So that on its own was unbelievable.
Right.
It's like the dream is officially there, for someone who started 2017. Now it's February 2020, my brother. You have to think and understand. I wasn't earning $1 in this time. I was full-time and I was just burning money throughout the whole period. And I got two of my best buddies to invest into my company. One is local, one is from Saudi. And they had trust in me. And to me, it's like, now that I have funding from other people, it's that much more serious. So we had the plan. February, we received the pre-approval. So we were about to receive the actual license in April. April 2020 comes around. We're ready to launch. I had just enough money to launch my business so that I can raise more funding and grow the business. April 2020 comes about, and what happens? COVID.
Right, yeah.
So you're
another slap in the face.
Another big slap in the face. So COVID comes around, and RTA tells me, oh, you got the license, but everything is on lockdown now. So before we issue it to you, you're going to have to wait. I was like, wait, how long? He's like, we don't know. So that just enough money that I had, so that we don't know, ended up taking till December 2020. So I was in February, supposed to launch in April.
Yeah.
Just enough traction to raise more money. That all went out the window. By the time I reached December, when RTA gave me the clearance to launch, I was broke.
Done.
Dead broke. I had no money to my name. I've already burned $2 million into the project.
Right.
Obviously, you could see a third of it was lost from, unforeseen circumstances, let's just put it this way. But lost by, I mean, like, bad decisions, bad investments on the wrong people. So anyone in my position, bro, would have just folded. That's it,
Yeah.
Talking about 3 years, man. 3 years of your life, and every single day there was a problem. You know what I mean? So people want to know what entrepreneurship is, man. This is entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
It's not what you see online. It's not the glam. It's nothing to do with that. You'll see that maybe 8-9 years down the line, but not in the beginning. So December comes about, and I will not forget, I had my full stack developer, Jimmy, who was with me, and he had his entire family was here. His wife was pregnant. I couldn't afford to keep him another month. His visas were expired, so he had to leave within a week, 2 weeks max.
Right.
And managed to get him an extension for a month. But he was my only guy, the only guy who built the platform with me. January comes about, I meet with him. I was like, you know what? It's been 3 years. I'm just going to launch the business. And he was like, are you sure you want to launch without funding? I was like, you know what? At least to tell myself that I've launched it. Because everyone around me, not that I cared, not to care what people thought about me. But one of the mistakes I did, and I'm saying this mistake out loud to every entrepreneur, never announce anything before it's done. Because the thing is, I announced 4 different launch dates. I announced 100 things that were way too early to announce, And to me, it's like I owed it to myself. I don't want to become a joke or the joke of the town. For myself,
But what did you need the funding for if you already had what it takes to just launch?
Look, you have to understand, startups work purely on funding. So Kareem, for example,
Yeah.
raised $800 million
Mm-hmm.
in 6 years. They raised 800 million. They sold for 3.1 billion. That's the profit that they make,
Yeah.
right? You raise money, for example, I needed to raise to grow my team, to pay for employees, to market the product, to startups. It's two things. It's management and funding.
Right.
It's the founders and the team, and then it's the funding, because where else are we going to get financing from? You know,
Yeah.
no, you have to understand people like Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, all of these giants are not self-funded. They got investors' money, they grew a concept, and then obviously these investors get an exit when the company share goes up.
Yeah.
So at the time, I needed to raise money so that I could build a team and start marketing.
Yeah.
Obviously, I had the money, but with COVID and and the partnership in the year one, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Money lost due to poor decisions, but I couldn't have known. I was in a position where I needed to see it through. You know, even like the worst is when your own family comes to you and tells you, you know, you've tried your best, maybe apply for a job, keep this on the side. And it pissed me off, man, when they said that. Bro, it still pisses me off to this day. It's just like, actually it was my father was the only figure in my life that saw me go through hell. Hell. And he was like, keep going. He never gave me, like, well, I was in a point where, you know, I was getting myself into deep territories, my friend, like territories that were far. I was 23 years old, you know, far beyond my league. And man, I kept pushing. And the funny thing is, I launched the business. I had one business on board, and it was my friend who put his cars just to help me out. You know, he put 70 cars on the app.
70.
So
yeah, he's like a high net worth guy.
Yeah, no, he has 100 cars.
Wow.
He's an owner of a reputable car rental company.
Cool.
In Business Bay. He's like a big brother, and he listed his cars, and he listed it just to support me.
Right.
And when I launched my business, I launched it not knowing what was going to happen, bro. I was taking it at this point one day at a time. I don't know what was going to happen. So, long story short, I was backtrack from February, so whenever COVID hit, throughout all COVID, I was developing everything that we had set to develop later, which is yachts, jet skis. So I developed all that.
Yeah.
And I was, for the most part, trying to raise funding. Because obviously I was running out of cash. Every investor I spoke to, man, a lot. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it was like almost 800 people that I spoke to in a span of 8 months. You know what I mean? 100 people every month. And each one told me, listen, mobility is not safe. It's not a safe business for us, especially after COVID, lockdown, social distancing. Uber shut down, Kareem shut down, like a lot of the mobility startups shut down, and a lot of them were filing for bankruptcy. So it was a bad time, my friend. It was a horrible time.
Right.
But it was one of those where I was launching my business in the midst of a pandemic. So it kind of reminded me of 2008 and when Uber and Airbnb launched.
Financial crisis.
But Uber and Airbnb launched in 2008 in the midst of a recession. And that's where my point is, everything in your life happens for a reason. Your life is a story, my friend. You have to understand. You are living a storyline that's been pre-written for you.
Yeah.
Okay? And some people live out their entire story. Some people live out half their story and settle for that. You know, they waste the rest of their life. So quickly, my mind went from the victim mindset to, oh my God, why is this happening to me? To, okay, this is happening to me for a reason. There's something I need to learn out of this. And I'm going to have to pay attention to everything that happens in that process. So when I launched my business, I was driving back home 3 days into launching. I announced that I officially launched. Everyone was congratulating me, but I was dead on the inside, my friend. I was completely depressed. I was depressed beyond the word depression, bro. You know, And I didn't know where to go. I kept doing the same routine every single day. Wake up, open LinkedIn, message investors, apply on VC websites. And 5 days, I think it was, into launching my business, I was driving back home on Al Khair Road, and then I got a notification saying someone booked a car on the app. And I thought it was my developer testing the platform. So I called him, I was like, yo, was that you? He was like, no, that's actually a customer. Her name is XYZ. She rented a Mini Cooper. I was like, bro, I almost got a heart attack. My anxiety skyrocketed. I couldn't drive. I was shaking. I pulled out on the side of the road, put my hazards on. It was, imagine building something for 3 years and a half.
Right.
And then seeing an actual live transaction happening.
Yeah.
And we banked the first, I think it was 900 dirhams. She booked it for a week on Stripe. So we were generating revenue. So I couldn't believe it. I don't know how to digest it. But at the same time, it was the rebirth that I needed.
Yeah.
Because I was so down and out, and that's what I needed to kind of keep going. Believe it or not, my friend. So that was day 5 of launching the business. The next day, I got a call from a friend who's Russian. And he was like, oh, yo, brother, are you still raising money? And I was at a point where I was like sick of raising money. So I was like, yeah, bro, who do you have? I was very skeptical. He was like, I know someone who just came to Dubai and he's actively investing. He's ex-oil and gas, so on and so forth. I was like, sure, let's meet with him. And at the time, I had, I still have, Greg, who is my CFO. And Greg is an investor in my company. He invested in my company, but also took on the CFO role. So
Right.
I have no corporate experience. So he kind of does all the corporate work for me. He's 35. He's ex-GE, dynamic guy. We relate a lot as an individual in terms of drive, energy, dynamics, so on and so forth. And he came with me to the meeting, and I promise you, man, I pitched the idea to him for, I think it was an hour and a half, 2 hours. The guy did not flinch. The guy didn't smile. He didn't nod. Absolute poker face. And I didn't know if this guy, if I was boring him to death,
Yeah.
or if I was talking too much. So, and I had to stop. I was like, I had to stop multiple times and say, do you understand what I'm saying? He was like, yeah, keep going. So he finished, and he was like, how much are you trying to raise? I was like, look, I'm trying to raise $500,000. I want to take my business for the next year. I want to do this. I want to do that. I had the whole plan in place.
Yeah.
I showed him the financials, and like Greg obviously stepped in. And he was like, this is what we're going to do. And he's like, okay. We're done. Finished the meeting. I left. I told Greg, I was like, brother, we're never going to hear from him again. I promise you. And then he was like, yeah, man, I bet. I don't know what. He seemed very nonchalant. Like he didn't react. I was like, oh, well, bro, one of those. Funny enough, prior to that, he was like, give me 3 days to revise the material and all that stuff. But 3 days on the dot pass, and he calls me. He's like, look, I believe that what you're building has potential.
Right.
And if I invest, it's not going to be because of your business, it's going to be because of you. I see something in you. I see the drive in you. I see the passion. And I'm willing to work out a deal. Long story short, what initially was a $500,000 ask, I ended up closing $1 million 2 days after from the same guy on a deal that was very good for me, at least. I negotiated with him, and he's with me to this day. But yeah, I went from that to this in a week. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's what I'm trying to push out here in terms of you only fail once you fold. There's this saying.
Yeah,
I say,
once you
fail,
stop, right.
once you fold.
I always say that as well.
You know,
It's
and
like-
when I look at startups that fail, that had a big name, that where things were going for them, I can tell you for sure it has to do with management, the founders. You know what I mean? Because what I'm thinking, my whole story is supposed to deliver one point. Is there's always another side, and you'll never find out until you push. Bro, I've pushed limits in my life. Anyone in their right mind would lose their mind. In the least term I can use, So took that million And he trusted me and saw something in me. That's another thing about me is I am a very genuine person, you know. I say it how it is. I don't bullshit. I don't sugarcoat. I tell you everything as it is.
Yeah.
Because once you do that, you can go to sleep comfortably, and nothing along the way is gonna come and catch on to you. Anything you leave, as small as it is gonna catch on to you. You know, that's what I believe. So I was very transparent, and he transferred the money. He's like, go build what you need to do. We'll worry about the contracts later. So we were running the KYC parallel, but he fronted me cash so that I don't waste time. So funny enough, that was the beginning of URENT's revenue generating journey, February 2021. Alhamdulillah. Ever since then, up until now, we've done 100,000, almost 100,000 registered users, 140,000 downloads, 15,000 completed trips. So 15,000 completed transactions. But one trip can be a month or a day.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we've done almost 12.7 million in sales, dirhams. And that's talking on 2 years of operation, because the first 8 months was slow. We're trying to
What was the marketing strategy? That's the most important thing.
Oh, bro,
that's my part.
That was the hardest yet the most fun part.
Yeah.
Because it was all trial and error. Like initially, I don't know what the fuck I was doing. Honestly, marketing, we don't know what we were doing. It was so hard to market my concept because it was very new. Like all my competitors, like, you know, what you can call them competitors, Easy Hire, Karasti, these are aggregators. So
yeah,
with me, like if you go and rent a car from, let's say, eCar owns these cars.
Yes.
You know, I don't own any car. If you rent a car from Karasti or Easy Hire, they're locating the car from a partner. You don't know who they're locating the car from.
Yeah.
I was the first that gives you the ability and gives the owner the ability to managing everything on their own. We tried influencer marketing. Influencer marketing worked very well for us in some cases and a flop on other cases, but I kind of found out the type of influencers that I would need that would work, and it's funny enough, it's the furthest. Like if you tell me, oh, I know this car enthusiast who's an influencer, I was like, oh, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's usually the car influencers or someone related to your field that you think would work if they market.
Is the one who doesn't work, exactly.
The ones that work are the ones that are the furthest from your line of work. For example, the influencers that did travel worked very well for us. Influencers that did fashion, even females who did fashion, worked for us. Why? Because of the audience. The audience that you're talking mature audience, you know what I mean? Mature audience that is either a resident or a tourist and needs a car to.
But not only that, it's something I like to say. It's like indirect marketing, because the car enthusiast, when he makes the video, it's clear. Well, you're a car enthusiast, you're a partner. It's clearly you're trying to sell me something.
Exactly.
But when the fashion guy makes a video, the customer be like, you know what, it'd be nice if I wear what he's wearing and we take a picture with the car.
Exactly.
You know, it's, the traveling is the same.
Man, not only that, it was also, believe it or not, when you're talking fashion bloggers, man, it was the conservative ones, the ones that are like from the GCC,
yeah,
or just the conservative ones, because their audience takes them seriously because of the ethics that this person carries in their life. You know, even if they're in fashion, they're in conservative fashion. So you're talking about every audience or every individual watching is someone in their 40s, 30s. With the same morals, you have to understand, you know, which is why when he or she brought up a concept, oh, there's this car rental app and it helped me this and this is how I use it. And look, I can talk to the owner, I can negotiate the price, which is true. You can talk to the owner, negotiate the price. You can go to his garage, edit the price real time. Right. So nothing like that exists here.
But how do you prevent if I can go over to the owner, talk to him, all of that? How do you prevent if I just deal with him?
We cannot prevent it, and it's something that happens in every platform, including Airbnb. Look, we have terms and conditions. TNCs specify that there's a hefty fine of around $4,000 or $5,000, if I'm not mistaken.
If you're caught.
The thing that they don't know is I have 24 hours monitoring on all the chat systems.
Right.
So if someone says, here's my WhatsApp, send me my WhatsApp, we follow up on, we find out everything.
Right.
But here's where when it first happened, the first time it happened,
Also,
kind
so
of
this
hurt.
happened,
Yeah,
right?
oh,
Okay.
many times, bro. Oh, this happened. Car thefts happened, 7 of them. You name it. Whatever you can think of happened. So, again, these are all business activities you learn from. Let's start with the part where they take them out the app. Now, they don't read the TNCs. So, my TNCs, it says there's a 4,000, 5,000 fine.
Nobody ever.
All I needed to do was send them evidence,
Right.
the TNC copy, and the legal notice. And what I ended up doing is I took 100% of the revenue versus my commission. So some guy, 2 cars, he rented out outside the platform. It was 14,000 for 2 cars for 2 weeks, GMCs. And he tried to finesse us, and I sent him a legal notice, and I was like, listen, either pay me my share, or he freaked out. He absolutely freaked out. And here's what you need to understand. What I've invested so much time and energy to is the credibility of what the platform can do.
Right.
Meaning, do it, man. I'll kick you out of the platform, generate business on your own, let's see. 99% they come running back, please put us on your platform. Because, bro, when you list cars with me, you're getting messages immediately from customers. You know what I mean? 100,000 of them registered. So, to them, the ones who thought they could finesse me learned their lesson the hard way. Right. Eventually, I gave them a second chance. I'm not one that doesn't give them anyone a second chance. But all I had to do was focus on what I was doing, the value I was bringing to these people. If you go outside the app, you'll be subject to pay a security deposit or a credit card block on the office. If you book through me, you don't have to put a security credit card block because we have pre-authorization with Stripe. So that was one of the incentives. And later, funny enough, the hosts, business owners, started pushing their existing clientele onto the app. Why? Because they just sit back, they receive all their money in their wallet, and every week they redeem their earnings. So I've had people to close down their office, fire half their employees, and we'll work. Yeah, because it's not just an app. We built a desktop version for them,
Right.
like a dashboard.
Yeah.
They can monitor their vehicles, they monitor their cars. They can. I'll show you after the pod, but it's unlike anything else, man.
It's like a business dashboard, like for
exactly, and that's what URENT is supposed to do. URENT is revolutionizing vehicle rentals by creating a peer-to-peer experience across all vehicle categories, not just cars. So we're not segmented towards one goal. And at the same time, the beautiful thing about it is the fact that it's digitalizing the traditional vehicle rental process.
Right.
Every office pays rent. Every office pays for employees. Every office pays for marketing. You work with me, you can close your office. You just keep 2 drivers to deliver the cars, maybe 1 admin to manage the bookings. And you don't spend a dime in marketing.
Yeah.
The minute your cars are listed with me, they're
So initially it's a
marketed.
B2C, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So it's a business to consumer built on a P2P front end.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm going to quickly show you here, if you don't mind. So I'm just going to quickly show you. One second. So here, as you can see, if you open the app, so this was listed today.
Right.
This was listed today, and if you click on the profile of the individual, you can see his response time, his activity, and you can see all the different vehicles that he's renting.
Yeah.
And then you can obviously, if you select on this one, you can talk.
I'll chat directly to them.
And at the same time, you can see, like, this guy doesn't have, he's new, he doesn't have reviews. But someone like him, look, he has reviews, ratings. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a very lifestyle
Yeah.
focused, community focused app.
How did you first, like, obviously you had this initial guy who listed 70 cars.
Correct.
But how did you get other people to join
Very
in?
good question. So initially, I hired 3 sales reps.
Right.
Their job was simple. You go out there and you educate these companies on these platforms and you onboard them. First year, it was impossible. They were rejecting us. They thought we were competitors. We were people that are going to hurt them. You know, so that was the first year, was kind of breaking that, how can I say, that illusion that, hey, we're here out to get you. And the funny thing is this, as soon as they tried the app, they're like, man, we can never go back to how we were working, you know. And let me also be very clear and open, is that we raised $1 million in almost 3 years ago. Now we're raising a further 5 million to scale. It's impossible to make a business survive with $1 million for 3 years. Now, given that 2023 was the worst VC investing year, just because of the political issues that were happening, the sanctions that happened, as well as the AI, ChatGPT,
Yeah.
everything took all the investors' focus there. So people like us who are raising money, people think raising money is, yeah, well, you know, it's 1-2 months, I'll get the money out. It can take anywhere from a month up until 2 years to raise money. So you, as a founder, you have to focus on all these moving parts at the same time. And eventually, after we onboarded, I think the first 60 companies, it was snowball effect. So this company would tell this company, and this company would call us, and then this company would call us. So it was tough the first year. And then as soon as they saw the value we bring on the table, it was smooth sailing, I would say.
Yeah, it becomes much easier. Yeah.
Much easier.
It's in every business, even in mine. You know, in the beginning, it was very difficult to get that first client, and it became 2, 4, 6, 8, easier.
Correct.
And what's the profit split that you have?
So initially we started 12.5%. We made it very, very appealing. We were the lowest in the market. We scaled to 15. And then eventually, I think by the end of this year, we will hit 20%.
20%.
Yeah. But not only that, where we just added feature your profile, feature your vehicle.
So ads, run ads inside the platform.
Running ads, ad space on the website, and then feature your car, feature your vehicle, just like Dubizzle. When you feature your, to get like boosted to be on the homepage.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing. We're doing it 3, 5, and 7 days, just so that people boost on a regular basis. And then eventually I see this platform going on a subscription model. So just like how Dubizzle today charges $199 to list a car. That's the cheapest package you can get. I'm going to charge bronze, silver, platinum. So bronze will allow you 20 cars.
Right.
Silver will allow you 100 cars. And then platinum unlimited. And then you pay monthly. And then you just basically, and that's for cars. And then every category will have a charge for a subscription.
That's for the business who are listing their cars.
Okay. That's for the businesses.
Right.
As for the consumers, you're looking at mostly commission splits. So we would increase the commission split. But again, you have to understand that the commission split, we cannot, like for example, if you as a business owner come and you're renting out a car for $1,000, I pretty much cannot take 200 out of you and tell you, and I'm kind of like denting your profit margins. So instead, I put it for 1,200 instead of 800. So then I take my 200, you keep your 1,000.
Yeah.
And what we noticed, and again that goes back to human psychology, is where the world's going today. Any service that makes your life convenient, people are willing to pay a premium for. So people go ask, yeah, but you know, that same car that you are renting for $4,000 on your app, I can get for $3,500.
Oh, there's a saying that goes like, everybody can know how to make bread, but you still go to the grocery store.
Exactly. So for me, it was telling these people, okay, by all means, please go. In the end of the day, people are there who will pay for that convenience or for that luxury. It exists no matter what you think. And to me, it's the more you worry about these things, the more they'll happen to you.
Right.
You know, going back to car thefts, we had 7 car theft attempts. And tell you car theft attempts like things you'd see in movies, my friend. I'm not joking.
Fast and Furious.
No, I'm not joking. Like one of them was a Lamborghini Urus that was in a shipping crate in Jebel Ali port at 3 a.m. going to Africa. And then another one on
What
Oman.
if it's gone? What happens if it's gone? Like,
Well,
if,
there's insurance, right? But
Yeah.
the thing is, you don't
so you've
understand.
got full coverage.
Of course, they have full coverage, but I'll give you a quick example of how it's not beneficial for the business owner. Because the business owner, from let's say it gets stolen,
Yeah.
from the time it gets stolen until he gets his payout, you're looking at 8 months before
Right.
he sees his money.
So that's also 8 months that he could have rented the car.
Exactly.
It's also not lost, but
Not
potential.
only that, but even if it wasn't stolen, it goes into forensics with Dubai police for at least 2 to 3 months. Investigation,
Ah.
fingerprints. So he, again, loses the car for 2 to 3 months.
So just the attempt fucks it up.
Exactly. But 9 attempts in 15,000.
Is that-
I mean, alhamdulillah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, let's hope
Alhamdulillah.
nobody watches
But
this picture.
at the end of the day, we definitely had to go through them to put the right steps
Right.
to prevent. For example, 9 out of 9 people that were on theft attempts were, and again, there was a mistake that us and the business, because we do the first verification, but it's up to you as a business owner to do the second verification.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some went as far as forging visas,
Ooh.
forging residency visas. So now we go as far as calling the company. Any visa that doesn't look familiar, looks fishy, my team would call the company and verify if he works in that company.
Mm.
Get what I'm trying to say? And these are extra necessary steps, but هلا طبعا we're looking into implementing Emirates Pass. Inshallah, by April, we'll have Emirates Pass, so you can sign in with Emirates Pass, and that should solve the whole residential issue. And it'll be tourism. And tourism, obviously, there are a lot of government APIs that we can implement that help us, filter these people out, basically.
Okay, and I saw this business model in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe, I don't know. Tell me if that would work here. So there is this company that just started, and they have I think 40 supercars. Now
Yeah.
we're talking about Lamborghinis,
Yeah.
Ferraris, all
Is
of
it a
them.
membership?
Yeah, have you seen it? Yeah, it's like $50,000 a month, high end or something like that.
Let me tell you something. I did my quick math on I saw an ad for it. Look, first and foremost, you have to understand that businesses like these are purely gambling. And what are they gambling on? They're gambling on the fact that you're going to drop 50 grand and you're going to utilize only 10.
Yeah, it's like gyms.
Yes.
Gyms also oversell.
Correct. But for people like me, if I paid $50,000,
I would
a
want to
month.
use that.
I'd be driving every car 12 hours a day, my friend. You know what I mean? They would ban me. So I'm telling you, it's a business model that is very appealing, very exciting. But somewhere along the line, my friend, they're
Yeah.
going to find out that I don't know if this was a good idea, because what you're doing is a car rental company,
Yeah.
except you're offering a monthly subscription. But then here's the thing. Usually when it's sold through campaigns, it's like drive any car you want anytime
So something probably
for
hidden in the
30
fine
days.
print.
And then when you go and sit and sign the contract, it tells you, so you're limited to 200 kilometers a day on these cars, and you're limited to this amount. There's going to be limitations
Yeah.
that defeat the purpose. You know what I mean? And usually it's the kilometers, because you cannot convince me that I can take a McLaren right now with 5,000 kilometers. I promise you, bro, in 1 month I will put 20,000 kilometers on the car. In 1 month. I will depreciate the value of the car by 100,000, not 50,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's new, and with every new concept, I think there's R&D that's gonna happen
Right.
as they go. But I only see it working if you already have your 200 clients that you've worked with for a long time,
Right.
and these clients are loaded and they're willing to pay you 50K a month. In that case, it will work.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at just allowing the general public, you're in for a movie.
Rough ride.
Yeah, 100%. Not rough, a ride. How rough? If it's gonna be rough, that's for him to find out. You know what I mean?
And what happens if somebody gets a vehicle, scratches it, hits it, whatever,
Correct.
and then the next day he travels, gone.
Happens all the time. Here's where the pre-authorization happens. So the minute you book a car with me, your credit card is stored not with us, with Stripe.
Yeah.
So obviously not with us, because that's a cybersecurity protection clause that we don't want to be, God forbid, accountable if there's a cybersecurity attack on our platform and the credit cards are stored there. It's a big risk.
Yes.
So that's why Stripe, Checkout, all these payment gateways, they store the credit cards with there. It's encrypted with them, and it's like impossible to kind of access. So let's say you are a tourist, came to Dubai, which happens a lot of times. You rent a car, and I'll give you a quick example. Someone came, rented a Lamborghini Huracan for 2 days. It was 8,000 dirhams, the booking value. And he got fined for 42,000 in 2 days. 42,000 dirhams.
Well,
yes.
every single light thing was like 300 kilometers above.
I think he mistook the idea of a flash on a camera. So, but yeah, it happens, man. You think it's crazy.
No, but like every fine is like 600 dirhams. You've had.
But you have to understand the 42,000 because he got. I'll give you an example. He got flashed going over exceeding 100 kilometers an hour over. So that's 3,000 plus 3,000 in pound.
Right.
So do 5 of those or 4 of those in a row.
Yeah. And obviously Dubai has cameras every 2 kilometers.
So you can hit 3 cameras over a certain speed limit and get hit with 6 times 20,000 in just
within 3 minutes as well. Within 3 minutes of each other.
So obviously that was early in the days. So we were still figuring out how to go about it. So what I guarantee every business owner is I tell you, brother, what do you take as a security deposit for luxury cars? He tells me 5,000. What do you take for budget cars? 1,500. I was like, okay, I guarantee you that from me.
Yeah.
So if anything happens, I'm guaranteeing you this amount and I'll collect it from the customer. Anything above that threshold, we have to work together to redeem. When we have 45 days to redeem, if within 45 days we failed to redeem the amount, then we will help you out by taking 50% of the loss with you. So instead of you paying the whole thing, we pay 50%. You pay 50%.
Yeah.
We are more, because I tell them whether he came through me or through you, it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They tell you, yeah, but you know, if he came to me, he would have blocked his card, and when they block his card, I can take the money from the bank. I was like, okay, amazing. How long is it gonna take you? 180 days.
Right.
So you're willing to wait half a year to get your money, bro, but by all means take the customer outside, you know? So, and that's why I enforced accept, reject. So now whenever you get a request as a business owner, you can accept or reject.
Yeah.
I want to give them the full control on and before they accept or reject, they can view the documents.
Yeah.
They can view your documents. And I have hosts who rejected bookings just because, yeah, I mean, he doesn't look trustworthy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, in the end of the day, we do the screening for the customers, but the secondary screening happens with the business.
Have you ever had a problem with Stripe at all? Because
Stripe, I mean, aside from, Stripe, when you're making a lot of money, it's hard to when you're making a lot of volume of transactions with Stripe, they treat you good. So that's one of those. But I've heard from several other friends who you're using Stripe with delayed payments, delayed payouts, a lot of different issues.
Yeah, no, but Stripe did help me a lot because I had another business venture which my partner fucked me over in and stole about $30,000.
Yeah.
And it was a negative on Stripe for me, right? And obviously all that money's now been spent on the business back in, so it's now on my personal card. And they helped me afterwards, but I had to survive on savings for like 3 months.
Well, it's honestly that's the beauty of life, bro, because this is nothing compared.
Right,
there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things I didn't disclose on this pod.
Obviously.
I wouldn't want to disclose for the protection of other people. See, people hurt you, but that doesn't mean you can slander their name. But at the end of the day, I've been in much worse, bro. Much worse. I've been robbed over $1 million dirhams, bro.
Wow.
So. And that's something that you have to take to heart, learn, and move forward, because money comes and goes, you know. But Stripe isn't number one, I can tell you that. We are looking into other options, but they are great as for plug and play, there's
Yeah.
not much of KYC that needs to be done. But where I'm not too happy about is the rate. I mean, they're charging me
3.5%.
2.8,
2.8.
which is with the volumes I'm pushing, it's still high.
Yeah.
2.8% is still high for high transactional volumes.
You gonna create your own payment processor?
Inshallah, I have a plan to do UPay.
Okay.
So URENT.
Oh, so
Yeah.
here's the future plan.
Yeah, I know 100%. Listen,
Hit me up when that's ready. I want to use that.
UPay, and we have it trademarked, by the way. In case you want to talk to. And also, I already built a whole different platform. That
Right. Okay.
It's called UBIDS.
That's like
BIDZ. So it's the exact same platform, but it's for buy-sell auction. So you switch.
okay.
Just like how there's Kareem Eats and Kareem.
Yeah.
We haven't launched it. I haven't set a launch date, but we built it. It's already ready. But it's one of the super app moves. So we want to
Yeah,
become a
yeah.
super app. But obviously, given that now we're in the process of doing a government partnership, it's kind of changed the whole timetable of what I'm doing. So just to give you an idea of what we're doing now with the RTA, they opened the tender. We were awarded the tender 2 weeks ago after 13 months of non-stop back and forth.
Right.
We are going to become the platform that serves as the vehicle rental platform on a government level. So eventually we would want to push Dubai Tram, Dubai Metro, RTA Taxi, RTA Bus on URENT, as well as every vehicle rental company, whether it's in construction, heavy machinery, cars, boats, yachts, chauffeur, it has to be under URENT. And we're doing a full integration with the government. They're going to take over all the marketing. So you're going to see marketing from them on their channels, on buses,
Right.
metros, stickers.
And a deal like that, do
billboards.
they get equity in the company?
Not equity, but they get a revenue share.
Okay,
Yes.
so you get
they
a
get a good
revenue.
chunk of revenue share. It's across the UAE only, but the goal, so basically I sat with the entire executive board and I've met His Excellency Matar al-Tayar as well. So it's the responsibility I have on my shoulders is huge, because it's like appointing you to restructure vehicle rentals by digitalizing it on a country scale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a big blessing, it's a big opportunity, it's life-changing, but it's a huge responsibility.
Right.
Because you are not working with an investor, you're not working with a VC, you're working with the government.
Yeah.
So
a whole different level.
you do that well, man. I mean, there's no way you can't have a healthy exit
Right. Yeah.
from the
So you
business.
plan to exit, yeah?
Exit or IPO, and that's going to be subject to how the company performs in the next 3 years.
Right.
I'm not a greedy person. I don't think URENT is my say all be all in this lifetime. I have other dreams, I have other ambitions in this life, but this journey is not over yet. And
Yeah.
until it's over, I'm going to see it through. It takes 3-4 more years.
What's the
I'm
minimum number
determined
you
to
would...
make it a success story,
Right.
regardless of what you're going to ask me now.
I was going to ask you, what's the minimum exit value you would accept? So
Look.
even like if I were to come to an offer, what's like for you to even consider it?
100 million.
To even consider.
100 million, yeah.
100
100 million, and that's to even
Dollars.
consider dollars.
Yeah, dollars.
No, of course dollars. But again, other people can say, "Oh, your business is not even valued half of that." Well, okay, sure, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
everyone, they say that you see value in something. I cannot see the same value in it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? You didn't put the work and sweat and tears. But to me, it's until the day comes where I have an offer on the table. I'm going to go back to intuition. And again, maybe next pod we'll talk more about the law of attraction,
Right.
intuition, spirituality, because those,
Very important.
you have to live those to achieve goals, because you have to understand that for the normal person that lives his day to day, they're living in a different realm.
Yeah.
Like when I meet some people, we're not on the same
Wavelength.
and there's nothing wrong. It's just like, for example, I can meet someone who is the CEO of PwC, gets paid $1 million a year. You know what I mean? We're not going to be on the same wavelength, because what I mean by different realms is you get to the point in entrepreneurship, and it's usually in the struggles, the hardest of struggles, where, brother, and I tell you this, no one but God, or in other words, a higher power, in my words, God, can change your situation, you know. To all the people out there who have their own kind of drive towards faith, I think faith is something that is core in every entrepreneur's life, because I've lived through miracles, man. I've seen miracles happen in my life, and I've lived through them, and every single time I cannot say it's I got lucky, or it was a coincidence, or right place, right time. No, man, it was destined. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And here's the thing: if you tell me now, Omar, in a year, I want to be in a pod with Elon Musk. There are two kinds of people. There's the person that will sit in front of you and tell you, honestly, I can see that you will do it. Like, I see you doing it. I see you in a pod with them. And there are the others who tell you, oh, come on, bro, like, be realistic. You know what I mean? For people you keep around you, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you something. To make life easy, the less people you have around you,
bro, trust me,
better.
it's so bro, I'm super lonely.
Yeah.
Bro, I've
Thank
been
you.
alone for a very
But can I tell you something, man? They tell you it's lonely at the top. I'll tell you why it's lonely. It's lonely because
it's even lonely when you're trying to get to the top.
sometimes peace exists when you're alone.
Right? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Lonely for any, lonely can be seen as two things. Either someone who has a void and
Depressed.
yeah, exactly. And then lonely can be where you found your groove, you found your sweet spot.
Yeah. Could be you at the gym at 5 a.m. alone,
Bro,
nobody with headphones
exactly,
in there.
and you're loving life.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly.
And let me tell you, when you reach this level, when you've mastered something called self-love. You cannot achieve complete peace unless you've mastered self-love. And what I mean is, if I give you a quick example, almost every single day I eat out alone.
Yeah.
I sit on a table alone and I'm eating alone, and I get invited by many friends to go out to have dinner, lunch, and all, big hugs and kisses to them, but to the most part, to me, I'm sitting alone, but I'm like analyzing and observing everything, and I'm thinking, and the best ideas come up when I'm alone. Like, it's crazy, man. You know what I mean? And sitting with someone with no agenda, like, you know, if we're catching up over lunch and it's nothing to do with your personal journey, my personal journey, sharing thoughts, synergies, finding ideas, just speaking out loud, not necessarily working together, but having this productive time, I avoid it. Like, don't tell me, let's go out clubbing, bro. I'll never go out clubbing unless it's someone's birthday where I have to and it's occasion.
Yeah.
Anywhere where my energy is wasted, I would rather not. You know what I mean? And you're talking to someone who was not like this, bro. When I first started my business,
I was clubbing,
whatever you want, bro. You know
I'm
what
the
I mean?
total opposite. Since I was like I told you, I wanted to be a football player. So since I was like 7 or 8, it was me in the football field alone, an hour before training, an hour after training, 5 a.m. at the gym because I had school and I had everything. So I'd wake up at 5 a.m., work out alone. Then I would sleep late alone. I traveled to the Netherlands alone. I sit in my house alone. I go play football alone. Everything I did, it's like it was so alone that I developed a secondary character
100%.
that would have conversations with me and discuss and be productive.
100%. Can I tell you something? When we were in Brand Me Summit, when they asked what's one thing you would teach a person, what did I say? I said discipline.
Yeah.
And the reason why you are sitting where you are today, and you're gonna go places, and I'm telling you this,
Right.
I'm not flattering you. It's just because of the discipline you have, the discipline that you've built over time. You know, anyone who has discipline in their life will succeed in whatever they do. I know people who are extremely disciplined, but tell you, you know what? I love entrepreneurship, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
he can become an entrepreneur. It's just not for him. And I understand these people and I respect them just as much as they are entrepreneurs. Yes or no, with or not. It's a life that's not, and a lot of people understand, it's not lavish, it's not luxurious, it's far from that. And let me tell you one thing, my brother. The minute you rag in the millions, and this is kind of like how life itself programs you, is by the time you're sitting on millions, you don't have an appetite to spend the money. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's the appetite of living lavish disappears. You become obsessed with creating things. So the whole game of entrepreneurship is rigged. It's you suffer for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And then what people call the overnight success, where suddenly within a year you become a billionaire. People say, oh, well, you got lucky. You know, it's been just, this guy came out of nowhere. Neglecting all the years that you put in. But all that doesn't matter, because the more you go through these struggles, the less you see value in worldly things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I've already reckoned it, because that's why, like, I always, sometimes whenever I think to myself, oh, I'm struggling now or this or that, I think to myself, look, if I make 10 million tomorrow, right, I'm gonna enjoy it for 3 days.
Yes.
So if that's the case, and when I reach it, whether it be in 3 years, 3 months, whatever, when I reach it, and that's how I'm gonna feel, because I know that's, because everybody feels that way. I'm very logical. I like to think that way.
True.
So I'm like, okay, then who gives a fuck?
Yes, 100%. 100%.
Just work, do what you do, and just keep doing. Because you're gonna still do the same when you're 10 million.
100%. The only difference, look, the only difference between this and that is there's the whole character building phase, where you're building character. Now, here's the thing. Having money with character is what you want. Is in the sense, if I ask you now, Abdurrahman, why do you want to become wealthy?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you want to become
For
wealthy?
my family. Thank you. That's it.
See, my friend, this is what I like to call a selfless intention. So that's what I tell you. Before anyone asked, even what's his name, Jules,
sartorial shoot.
yes. I overheard him say something when he was at the panel, and he was like, you know, before you wanna, like, someone asked him, is like, how do you become rich? And then he was like, before you ask me that question, I want to ask you, do you want to become rich? And he was like, yeah, no, okay, obviously everyone wants to become rich.
Yeah.
And he's like, it all comes back to the niyyah.
Yeah, the intention.
And he said it in Arabic. He's like, niyyah. And he amazed me when he said that, because it's true, man. It's how far you go, how much money you'll have. The sad part is you only know.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense.
If I, like me, here's my kind of mechanism of dealing with hard times. I'm going through shit. Everything is going wrong. It's hard to wake up every day. But then you have to understand something. And that's what Mike Tyson said. He was like, when you're favored by God, you're also favored by the devil.
Yes.
And you have to understand that the more shit starts happening, the closer you are. That's what people quit when things get tough, not knowing that this is when you're close. It's when, think about it this way.
It's Newton's law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Not only that, think of it in a way where, like, I'll give you a very, 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 very simple example. Just before I got the award from the RTA, a week before that, I got a call from someone I knew at the RTA who said, yeah, well, most likely someone else is going to be awarded. Or like a few weeks back. And I was like, oh shit, man. I was banking on it, you know what I mean? And then, I'm just giving you an example here.
Yeah.
A week later, all my cars broke down, my friend. All of them. Once I was driving a car, broke down. The next day, my other car broke down on the highway. And then you cannot explain them.
Yeah.
So to me, rather than dwelling and going like, oh, shit, man, my luck. I swear to God, bro, I sat in the highway with my car completely shut off in the middle of the highway in Sheikh Zayed on my phone, checking Instagram and just, you know, replying to messages of my employees. Chill,
Yeah.
bro, chilling. Like, it is what it is. Because what you don't want to do is feed that energy.
Charlie Chaplin once said, "Life in a box is full of, like, looks like it's problems a lot, but when you zoom out, it's comedy."
Oh, 100%. And you know, it's funny because that's something that our religion teaches us. One of the things that our religion teaches us, and something I appreciate a lot, is your problem really a problem?
Exactly.
You know, like, what is your problem? For example, now you tell me, oh, by the way, I got robbed, I got fired, I got this, I got that. You're still alive, you're still breathing, you can still walk. You know what I mean? And man, the craziest things that have happened in my life is sometimes, and that's when you're in full alignment with your spiritual side, and when you're walking with God in this journey, so-called journey of entrepreneurship, is sometimes something happens, and between you and yourself, you're like, wow, why did this happen? Like, why?
Yeah.
And then you immediately brush it off, go like, alhamdulillah, 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 everything happens for a reason, you know? You carry on with your day. But then, you know what happens? I go to the mosque, and I'm praying. And I was doing sujood, I was ruku', sorry. The guy on my right is missing all his fingers on his toes. And to me, for the spiritually aware, I would go like, alhamdulillah. You know what I mean? These are you're set to see these things in your life as reminders.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And that's why whenever you feel like you're lacking, look at the people who have less. And that's going to be your immediate kind of like, okay, alhamdulillah.
Or at the end of the day, you just say, well, at the end of the day, I'm going to be 60 or 70 and dying.
Not even 60 or 70.
Maybe earlier, yeah. Who knows?
My friend, if you want to be in complete bliss in your life, this is something I learned, and I think it was the hardest thing to learn. Is I live my life, not even day to day anymore. It's hour by hour.
As if it's the last hour.
As if it's the last day I live. And that's why I promised myself, because bro, I would have lost my mind. Honestly, I would have lost my mind if I were to worry about everything I have to do. I would have lost my mind. I said, you know what? I have to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G today. I have to focus on successfully doing all of these. Tomorrow's problems are tomorrow's problems. When tomorrow comes, I'll worry about it. And that's where I was able to finally enjoy my journey in the midst of struggle. And this is what they call, there's a saying that says, when you're slow dancing in a burning room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What's that?
Well, it's a song by John Mayer, basically. When you are calm and at peace in the midst of chaos.
Yeah.
You know, when you start dancing with the devil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is when you've really achieved, when you've detached yourself from this world.
Yeah.
And you're living your purpose. You know what I mean? So yeah, day by day, even hour by hour. Honestly. Wallah.
Let me ask you this. What's your end game? What's like
my end game? My end game, my friend, is, I think, impact, man. I want to impact as many souls as I possibly can. And by impacting souls is not jumping on a stupid pod or going on TED.
Hey, you say this is stupid pod?
You know what I mean? Impacting as in, like I said, my dream is to create entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That's my dream. My dream is to have my own academy, a university for entrepreneurs. You don't even have, to be qualified, my friend, you have to have a high school degree. That's it. High school degree, smart mind, smart brain, eager to become an entrepreneur. 2-year course. I give you full mentorship. You get classes just like you do in university, and by the end of these 2 years, you graduate. You either graduate and you carry on with your startup, or you don't graduate but you get to enroll again.
Okay.
You get what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So what it is, my dream, my happiness, my core happiness comes from giving. And anyone can give money. Anyone can give anything worldly, material like. Yeah. But what you can't give, or is hard to give, is an opportunity. You know what I mean? And that's why I think my end goal, or my purpose, is to be remembered as the guy who changed 1,000 lives, and I'm not telling you, because look, there are people doing it like fitness trainers, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, transformed 5,000 clients. Yes, man, these are, believe it or not, I respect what they do. For some of them claim much more than they add a zero next to the amount of transformations. But I respect personal trainers. I respect people who are devoted to changing other people's lives, and they have the right intention with it, you know. To me, it's up a notch, because a personal trainer will always serve as a means of what he can achieve with his skill set.
Right.
You cannot go tell a personal trainer, well, you know what, okay, go develop a tech startup. You know, it's not his niche. You know, the furthest he will go is maybe create his own gym and get his own clients to come to his gym. That's like the ultimate goal. To me, I've built a business at a very young age with every uncertainty you can think of.
Yeah.
And a voice inside me says, a lot of people out there need to hear your story, because a lot of people out there are struggling, thinking they're alone. Now, the best thing that I do for myself as therapy is I listen to audiobooks of basically life stories focused on failure, not even winning.
Right. Because that's where you learn the lessons.
Exactly. So I started focusing my time on learning patterns of failure, because the failure doesn't exist. Failure is a speed bump. You know what I mean? And think of it as an obstacle course. See, when you go to CrossFit events, they have these, whoever finishes these amount of sets in the least amount of time wins. What does that mean? The man or the woman has managed to maneuver all these obstacles in a fraction of the time where others can, because of practice.
Yeah.
Get what I'm trying to say? So with me, my obstacle course is what I've done ever since I started this business. And what I want people to learn in the future is the mistakes that I've done, very general mistakes that you could avoid, because I could have avoided a lot. And at the same time, that whether you're 15 or 50, it's never too late.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Amazing. I want to end it by something very cool that I always do.
Yeah, tell me.
So you're a smart businessman, but actually, how smart are you? So I'll give you like some general questions.
Please.
And all right. So let's start slow. What's 2 + 2?
4.
Okay, that's great. What's the fastest animal in the world?
The fastest animal in the world today, well, you could say cheetah.
Right. Yeah.
But there are other faster animals that people don't know about.
Oh.
But they're mosquitoes, actually.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
What part of the body has no bones?
The part of the body that has no bones would be your tongue. Where the tongue is a muscle.
Yeah. So it's like a part of your outer body.
Oh, okay, that has no bones.
You can say your heart is.
Oh, so outer body that has
Yeah.
no bones, I would say eyes.
No, it's your ear.
I was gonna say ears, but then you're saying the okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Your eyes are technically, you've got like those
Okay.
skull points.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
What's the largest desert in the world?
Sahara.
No, it's Antarctica. It's considered a desert.
Oh wow.
Right.
Okay.
And then, how many bones do sharks have?
How many bones do sharks have? Wow, you're kidding me with this one. I swear to God, I knew it, but I saw it somewhere, but I forgot it. I think somewhere around the. Give me options, man. Be lenient. Give me like 4 options.
I'll give you 4 options.
Yeah.
361,
Yeah.
1,
Uh-huh.
0,
Uh-huh.
or 4.
1, 0, or 4? 300 and what?
61.
That's not 361.
Okay.
Let's go with 4.
No.
No?
What shot?
361? No, it's 0.
Yeah, it's 0. They have no.
But in that case, let me ask you, how do we see
If they have a like
the sharks, like the megalodon fossils from the older days in museums.
Because first of all, it's not a fish. That's number one. It's not a shark. Sorry, because no other fish have bones.
Okay.
That's number two. In my opinion, dinosaurs and all this BS is just propaganda by Darwinism. Darwinists, because it just goes totally against religion in any certain aspect, shape, or form. You know, their time frame is like, oh yeah, at the time of the cave people, you had dinosaurs and they were running away. And
look, in the end of the day, it is mentioned in our religion that there was an existence
before,
but what it was, we don't know. You know what I mean? So it's a speculation.
It's a speculation, exactly. Actually, sharks. A fun fact: sharks, if they stop, they die.
I know that.
You know,
I know that very well.
Because they will. You know why they will die?
Because the oxygen will not go through their fins. No, so they have to keep swimming.
Not only that, if they stop, they will turn upside down.
True, because they go into hypnosis when they're upside down. Look, the nose is the most sensitive part of the shark, and they have neurons there, which is how they're able to eat, see, pretty much everything. Their whole
isn't the nose. That's why if you hit them in the nose, that's right.
Exactly, and the eyes. So,
but good luck hitting slow motion.
True. But believe it or not, sharks are my biggest fear. Number one.
Me too. I hate the ocean.
But number two, they're the most fascinating animals in my opinion, because
they're one of the longest existing ones.
And they're extremely intelligent.
Right.
Much more intelligent than we think. And they say they're dangerous. And you see, sharks, just like
I don't think I think only they're dangerous when they're lost and they don't know where they are, or they.
Any animal, wild animal who's hungry will eat anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's why the term cannibalism came into existence, is because back in the day, when there was such a drought with food where people started eating each other.
Yeah.
So there's a certain
limit to every
point that you reach, even as a human, where you would eat anything just to survive. You know, it's a survival instinct. So I do think they're majestic animals, but I think obviously you're in their territory, so you have to expect them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But man, we have to do a part 2. I love it, honestly.
I'm ready to do that, brother.
I appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, bro.
Appreciate it, man.